Yo guys, what is good? It's your boy John Wong here, back again with another video, and today we're going over the battle of the ASICS sneakers. So I would say over the last 2 to 3 years, ASICS as a brand has just been on the rise. You know, they used to be a very dad shoe-esque kind of brand. A lot of people didn't really like them. They weren't too popular. But nowadays, as trends are evolving, ASICS are a widely coveted sneaker. You know, a lot of people value comfort in their styles, so they're going after ASICS, basically lining up in front of stores, and there's all these different collaborations between really well-known brands and ASICS sneakers. You know, I for one was never really a big fan of ASICS growing up. I think I saw them at Stride Ride and Payless. However, over the last 2 years, I really began to fall in love with the comfortability of their shoes. You know, I started out with the ASICS Gel-1130s in the plum colorway, and it was one of the most comfortable sneakers that I ever owned. And ever since then, I've been really interested in trying out other ASICS models. So yeah, just over the last couple of months, I have redefined my ASICS collection. So I sold my old pair of Gel-1130s. I got the Spider-Man and Kith collaboration with the ASICS GT-2160s. I love these a lot. These are super nice and a solid collaboration. After that, I picked up the ASICS Gel-1130s in the Midnight Navy colorway. This was just a colorway that I thought was a lot better for me as I sold my old pair. And then last but not least, I also picked up the ASICS Gel-1130s in this pale oak colorway. This was more of a general release that I saw on ASICS website, but nevertheless, this colorway was super beautiful and fire. So between the ASICS Gel-1130s, the GT-2160s, and the Gel-1130s, those are pretty much the three most popular ASICS models when it comes to their lifestyle wear. So now that I acquired all three models, I actually wanted to compare them and talk about which one I think is the best for you. Let's say if you're trying to go for a pair of ASICS. I know with the world being so attached to Nike, Adidas, and even New Balance, it's really hard to branch out into other sneaker brands such as ASICS. So let's say you're trying to try out ASICS for the first time and you don't know where to start. Today we're going to talk about which of these sneakers should you go for first. And don't get me wrong, while I intend for this video to be very informative, I also have separate reviews for all of these models. So I'll make sure to link them above or in the description down below. So make sure to go check them out because all of these videos are really solid. So yep, in today's video, we're going to have a sneaker battle between these three silhouettes. And I'm going to talk about them individually, but also sorting them into categories as well. So before we come to a conclusion of which sneaker is the best out of the three, we're actually going to break them down into 4 different categories. So first off, we have availability. So how available are they on the market? Can we buy them for retail, or do we have to splurge a little more for resale? Then we also have accessibility. You know, if I'm trying to go out to the supermarket and I'm trying to slip one of the sneakers on, which is the easiest for when I'm on the go? The third one is affordability. So which one is the best bang for your buck? We're going to go over all the different prices that they come in. And lastly, we're going to go over comfortability, which is pretty much everyone's main priority when they're going for ASICS sneakers. So which out of the 3 are the most comfortable? I'll make sure I'll talk about that in this video. So first off, we're going to go over what I'd like to think of as the youngest brother of the crew, and that is the ASICS Gel-1130s. So when it comes to the Gel-1130s, the thing that most people talk about is probably the price of it. So depending on what kind of materials you're getting in that particular sneaker, this sneaker will retail between 90 to 120 bucks. Now, while $120 for a pair of sneakers is pretty average and standard, getting a sneaker that is really comfortable for $90 is honestly unheard of. There are so few silhouettes out there that are worth the money when it comes to a really cheap shoe under 100 bucks. Now, personally, my pair in the pale oak colorway did retail for a price of $115. However, there's a lot of suede and other different kinds of materials on the construction of the sneaker, which makes it a little more premium. Nevertheless, you could pretty much find a lot of other colorways that primarily just have mesh on the shoe that only goes for 90 bucks. And just because the sneaker is cheap in price, that doesn't mean that the quality of the shoe is cheap. Now, there is so much padding around the sneaker, which makes it a very soft feel when you're on the go. Now, I would say out of the 3 silhouettes, the 1130s are probably the second hardest to get. I was trying to look for a variety of different colorways online that you can get for retail, and there's not a ton, and that's because these sell out so fast. Now, certainly ASICS and other boutiques have some decent colorways. However, I would say the sizing is pretty limited. So if you're trying to go for a specific colorway, you may have to pay resale on StockX or GOAT or any of that. But again, this sneaker is pretty much selling out because people love them so much. It's so cheap, it's so comfortable, and honestly, if you're really not trying to break the bank, you want to spend less than $100 on a pair of shoes, the Gel-1130s is the best way to go. And that's not even for ASICS, that means for like every single sneaker out there on the market. Now, the only con that I could think of when it comes to the sneaker is not even really a bad thing, but it's just their lack of gel technology in the midsole area. And it is pretty obvious that compared to their older brothers, the Gel-14s, the gel technology is much more stiff and a lot less apparent. This basically means that it's not going to be as squishy when you step into them as opposed to the Gel-14s. However, because the padding is so soft around the sock lining and throughout the entire shoe, it's not going to be a problem. And another good thing about the Gel-1130s is that they are wide foot friendly. So as opposed to the other two silhouettes, this one, if you do have a wide foot, will be a very nice shoe for you to wear. You won't feel like your toes are squeezing in or pinching, because they are very comfortable. So yeah, now that we've gone over the Gel-1130s, let's move on to the other models. And since I've already mentioned this model so many times, it's only right that we go over this one next, and that is the ASICS Gel-14s. There are so many good things that I have to say about the Gel-14s. First of all, they are one of the most comfortable sneakers that I've ever owned, hands down. Yeah, and even though they look like dad shoes, they pretty much pull off the times that we're in right now. It just matches the aesthetic of any single trend that you put them with. So I know that baggy and wide fitted jeans are in. I know that a lot of relaxed fitting clothes are in trend right now, and the ASICS Gel-14s, anybody that just puts them on when they're trying with an outfit, it'll just look really nice. Now, the ASICS Gel-14s are the most expensive pair out of all three models, and depending on the colorway or collaboration that you get, it's going to range between $150 to $170. And yes, when it comes to the retail market, it is a little steep for sneakers. However, I tell you right now that this is very worth your bang for your buck. Now, the Gel-14s are arguably the most popular silhouette in ASICS right now, not even with the three, but in general. And I know for a fact that this is what drew me into ASICS, wanting to try out the brand for the first time. I just saw the Gel-14s and I like the look of it, and I wanted to try out the comfort. With that being said, because this model is so popular on the market right now, it's honestly really hard to get them for retail. So you are going to have to go to StockX, and you're gonna have to go to GOAT or eBay, any reselling platforms. Now, the good news is that honestly, Gel-14s don't have too much resale value. So you might be paying $180, $190, maybe $200 at most if you're trying to go for resale. If you think about it, that's only maybe like $50, $60 over retail price. It's not too bad compared to other sneakers that are reselling on the market. Nevertheless, if you look hard enough, you might find some boutiques that are still selling them in limited sizing for retail price. And let's talk about the best thing about the Gel-14s, and that is the gel technology on the midsole. Now, this gel technology is very squishy. It just feels like the softest rubber. Now, the gel technology is intended to make the sneaker a very soft and squishy feeling when you're wearing them on feet. And I tell you that, I feel like I'm walking on a pillow when it comes to the Kayanos. I love the look of them as well. I did not expect the gel technology to be this squishy when I first unboxed them. I thought it was gonna be more of like a plastic feel. However, it's a very soft material, and it just says a lot about how this is going to feel on feet. So in terms of sizing, again, I talked about how the sneaker is relatively narrow. So if you are wide-footed, you might wanna go a half size up because, they do fit a little tight at the toe box area. And an honest con that I have about the Gel-14s is their lack of color blocking when it comes to the sneaker. I feel like a lot of their colorways pretty much have the same metallic blocking on the upper panel and then a white or cream mesh. It might have like a variation in different colored gel material, but that's pretty much it. They all look the same at the end of the day. So if you're trying to get something unique, you're pretty much gonna have to resort to the collaborations. But definitely the Gel-14s are an amazing sneaker. They're certainly one of my favorite sneakers in my collection right now, and they are, of course, the most popular of the three. So after covering the Gel-14s, there's one more model that we must go over, and this one is none other than the ASICS GT-2160s. Now, this one is a special pair to me and on the sneaker market in general. This one is the kith collaboration between Marvel and Spider-Man, and I love how they just executed this sneaker. It's supposed to be a Spider-Man inspired shoe, especially with the little details and little accents throughout the sneaker. I love the red to blue color gradient. I love gradients, so they look very nice. If you look at the insoles, they have Spider-Man on them along with the Marvel logo, and this sneaker is just super beautiful. Nevertheless, if you're trying to try out the GT-2160s, there are a lot of other colorways out there that are not collaborations and that you can pretty much get for retail price. Now, in terms of availability, GT-2160s are probably the best out of the three. You can basically walk into a Foot Locker and you can find a lot of pairs in different colorways, some colorways even on sale. But with the wide availability, that unfortunately implies that they are the least popular of the three. So if you're trying to go for something trendy within the sneaker community, the ASICS GT-2160s are probably going to be your last bet. Nevertheless, it does not mean that they are not a good shoe. I just think that there are better sneakers such as the Gel-1130s or the Gel-1130s that you can try out. Now, the GT-2160s does retail for a price of $120. Depending on the colorway or collaboration, they could also span from $130 to $140. And I'll be honest that when it comes to my sneaker collection, I've had the least amount of experience with the GT-2160s, and that's because I'm always gravitating towards the 1130s and the Gel-14s. Now, there's nothing wrong about this sneaker. There's certainly a lot of good traits with the shoe, and the first thing is the amount of colorways that they come in. I feel like with the GT-2160s, there are a lot of different color blockings that I've seen on the market. And honestly, when it comes to the color scheme, the GT-2160s probably has the strongest ones. Now, the 2160s also come with gel technology as well. However, it's not as much as the Gel-14s. We see little bits of panels on the back of the midsole as well on the back end of the side profile. But when it comes to the GT-2160s, they do come with a more firm feel, so they're not as squishy as the Gel-14s. And in my opinion, they're not as plush as the Gel-1130s. Nevertheless, there is still a ton of cushioning in the sneakers, so they are comfortable. You're just not gonna feel like you're digging into the ground when it comes to the midsole. But that's certainly not a bad thing because some people actually like to feel the ground more when they're wearing shoes. And when it comes to the plushy feeling, the soft feeling, it can feel a little tiring after a while when your feet are not stable or level to the ground. So for someone that doesn't want your feet to basically feel like jello when you're wearing a really comfy shoe, the GT-2160s are honestly the best bet. Now, another downside that I personally have about the GT-2160s is that breathability is a very limited thing when it comes to the shoe. So I'm wearing them and they're comfortable. However, I don't feel like there's a ton of room because they are slightly tighter than the other two. So with that being said, if you are wide-footed, you might have to go a half or a whole size up because yes, it is very tight around the mid area. So after going over all three, we're gonna decide on which is the clear winner. But first off, we're gonna go over the categories once again and see which of these shoes won each one. Now, the first category we had was availability. So which is the sneaker that you can pretty much get the most easily, which is a shoe that you can go into the store and get without a problem. And this one goes to the GT-2160s. If I wasn't clear before, you can pretty much walk into a Foot Locker or a Finish Line and you can find the GT-2160s sitting for retail. You can get them on sale, you can get a ton of different colorways, and I'm pretty sure if you're trying to go for a GT-2160 that you're gonna find one that you can rock. And the next category we got up is accessibility. So if I wanted to run a quick errand, if I wanted to go out to the store and just slip a sneaker on, which of these three are the best shoe? And for this one, I'm giving it to the Gel-1130s. You know, I've talked about how well they are as a wide-footed sneaker. And because they are wide-footed, this makes it a whole lot easier for you to just slip your foot in. You know, with the other two, you kind of have to put in some work when getting your foot into the sneaker. However, I think that the 1130s are the easiest to put on. And, you know, when you're on the go, this is what you need. So again, with accessibility, the Gel-1130s takes this one. And the next category we got up is affordability. And if it isn't already clear, the ASICS Gel-1130s takes this one. There is not a better sneaker that you can get for under $100. I feel like for 95 bucks, this is the most comfortable shoe that you can get on the market. And lastly, when it comes to comfortability, amongst the three, the most comfortable ASICS sneaker has to be the ASICS Gel-14s. This sneaker is absolutely beautiful and absolutely comfortable. Your feet will thank you when you're wearing them. I've said this time and time again, and that's because it's true. So yep, after breaking down the categories with these sneakers, obviously we have the GT-2160s winning 1, we have the Kayano 14s winning 1, and then the Gel-1130s winning 2 categories, which is the clear winner. And it's gotta be, in my personal opinion, the Gel-Kayano 14s, honestly, of the 3, is the best ASICS sneaker. Now, yes, the Gel-1130s won 2 categories. They are accessible and they are affordable. However, I think that the comfortability of the Gel-Kayano 14s is no joke. You know, I think ASICS as a brand does value comfortability at the end of the day, and the Gel-Kayano 14s is the perfect representation for that. Yes, they are an expensive sneaker. Yes, they are hard to find, but if you are able to snag a pair for retail, this is worth every single penny that you're putting it into. Now, the reason why this sneaker is $160 is because I genuinely believe that price does increase with quality improvement. So yeah, the Gel-1130s are definitely affordable, but if you have the extra money, definitely go for the Gel-Kayano 14s at the end of the day. But let's say you don't have any luck going for the Kayano 14s or the Gel-1130s, but you just want to try out ASICS as a brand, I definitely recommend getting the GT-2160s. I feel like this is a good introduction to ASICS as a brand, but for anyone that is trying to go for the best feeling sneaker, the ASICS Gel-Kayano 14s, again, clear winner. But at the end of the day, you know, don't get me wrong, this is all entirely in my opinion. So if you're one to value availability or affordability over the comfort of a sneaker, definitely go for the other two. So yeah, I hope you guys found this video informative and this was really fun to make. I just love how all these 3 sneakers are actually very similar looking, but they all have different unique attributes and characteristics to them. But now I'd like to hear from you guys. Which of these 3, between the Gel-1130s, the Gel-Kayano 14s, and the GT-2160s, do you like the best? Leave a comment down below because I do want to hear from you guys. And as always, if you guys liked the video, please give it a big thumbs up. And if you guys want to hear more from me, smash the subscribe button because more will be on the way. Again, this was the ultimate battle between the ASICS sneakers, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!